Happy Friday, everybody, and it is a hot Friday. I think that is the story of the day, but just as we're coming on air this evening on Live Weather Impact here, thanks for tuning in. I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Panch. We're tracking one lone severe thunderstorm. It just went warned for parts of Caldwell County, so let's get right to the radar. There it is, severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Caldwell County till 7:30, though it seems like a very long warning, an hour. I don't think that's going to last an hour, but it's moving towards Lenore, towards Sawmills. Probably what's going to happen, this thing's going to dissipate fairly quickly. I will put money on it that this will not last an hour. It's moving about 30 miles per hour, and again, moving southeast in this general direction. So we'll do a quick storm track on it. So if you're in Patterson, Lenore, Gamewell, Sawmills, Dudley Shoals, Hickory Airport area, between now and 7 o'clock. I think, 7 o'clock seems to be, to me, the max of that thing. And again, I'll show you why I'm not overly concerned, because look how few storms there are. There's just not a ton out there. It's just with the intense heating of the day, it's not taking a whole lot for these to go severe. There's actually much stronger storms to our north. That's where we actually have a severe thunderstorm watch up for parts of Virginia. Up to the north, that's where we've had some pretty active weather, and they need some rain up there in parts of Virginia, so they'll take it without the severe. Down here, it's pretty isolated in nature. Let's look at the temperatures, though, because that really was the story of the day. It's 6:30. It's still 95 ridiculous degrees out there. That's hot. I think all the times I posted on social today, how many 90-degree days we have per year. About 44. So 90 is normal. That happens. 95, about 9 times a year. So 95 plus it happens, but maybe only a handful of times. And 100-degree weather, pretty rare. On average, once a year, but, there's some years we don't get any at all. I think people think it gets to 100 a lot more. What it often happens around here is we get to 100 for a heat index, not an actual air temperature. And speaking of today's high, it was almost a record. That record high today was 98. Remember, we forecasted 97 and a low of 75. And not to brag, but we got a zero air forecast today. We always take pride in that when we get the high and low exactly right. We're okay if we're within 3 degrees, we think, but to get those right on the head is pretty awesome, because that low this morning was a record. It was the warmest low temperature for this date. The previous record was 74, and we almost broke a record high. So we almost had the rare double record high and low, but not because of cool, because of hot. There are records for warm, low temperatures, and that's what we had this morning. Now, tonight, it's not going to cool down much. In fact, I think the temperatures are going to struggle to get below 80 degrees, and that wasn't what happened last night. At midnight, it was still like 83 degrees outside. So tonight, it might be low 80s if we're lucky. And the next hour, probably our only chance of seeing a storm is going to be pretty quickly here. Tomorrow, there's a little bit of relief on the way. I don't want to say it's cool, because it's not. It's still going to be in the mid-90s, just not 97. Now, the feel-like readings could be 97. And just to put that in perspective, today we topped out at 104 for a heat index. So 97, 98 certainly would be hot tomorrow, but that would actually be an improvement over what we saw today. Now, what's interesting about the weekend, it stays pretty hot and steamy, but we get a little edge knocked off the heat. And eventually we're going to see probably potential for a pop-up shower storm here and there as we go into the afternoon and evening hours. But most of these are going to be isolated. And I should really emphasize, like we're seeing tonight, incredibly isolated storms. Right through 6 o'clock, you see 7 o'clock. Look what happens later tonight. They just fall apart. I mean, moving out of the mountains will be tough. Tomorrow, kind of the same setup, pop-up afternoon storm, but maybe a 20% chance. Sunday, we've got a cold front moving in from the west, and it actually could produce a stray shower or thunderstorm. I think the best chance of rain the entire weekend could be Sunday evening. So if you got cookout plans for the weekend, Sunday night would be something I would definitely have a backup plan or cover to go to, because that looks to be the time frame for a pop-up storm. Now, the area you can wear, it is a sauna. It's going to stay like that today, tomorrow, but there is some improvement coming for early in the week. That should actually help us out. Rain chances, they stay elevated, so just be ready for these afternoon, evening storms. Not that I expect anything widespread, but you could run into those. Now, in the tropics, we show you this tropical potential. It's a 10% chance within the next 2 days and the next 7 days. Basically, that means we're not expecting this to develop. But look at the movement. That yellow shows where that is moving. That is a big slug of moisture, and that's actually the kind of tropical system we would love to get, because it's weak, it's not strong, and it's going to produce some good rainfall. And you can see where that heavy rainfall is going to be not over us, but off to the west. You see the heavy rain along the Gulf Coast, even interior Mississippi, Louisiana, areas all the way into maybe Tennessee. And they get almost to the Carolinas, and there's a big void over us. That's not what you want to see blues or purples on there. See greens, that's less than a half an inch. We need an inch of rain per week just to break even. So not an ideal setup, honestly, for us to get a lot of rainfall around here. And I think because of the heat, we're probably going to see the drought maybe go back the other way. So it's something to keep an eye on. And if you've been trying to use the water restrictions correctly and keep your stuff green, keep doing that. The heat does not help. It stresses these plants out quite a bit. So it's going to be tough to kind of keep everything lush out there. But as we go through the next couple of days, we will see the heat kind of subside just a little bit. Eventually, I think we'll see the potential for maybe some better showers and storms as we go into next week. By the middle of the week, that's when temperatures actually go back into into the 80s for the most part. We will see that potential rainfall to the west, though, and that's going to be a story, I think, for most of next week, that we're going to see the potential for some heavy rain over the deep south. And the natural question will be, is that stuff going to head our way? Right now, it's not really pegged to head our way. It stays all off to the west, and that keeps us kind of on the high and dry part of this right now. So let's hope that the drought does not get worse going into next week. Right now, it looks like the potential is there that it's going to be pretty dry until we get the next drought monitor update coming up on Thursday. Here's a look at your weekend forecast. We'll show you that. Temperatures both days climbing into the low, possibly the mid 90s. Very minimal rain chances overall. The chance of rain 20-30% if you're lucky. Your Jerry Hunt Supercenter 7-day forecast going to show this weekend steamy. It's going to be hot, just not as hot as the last 2 days, and certainly not as hot as today. But then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you see the temperatures back into the 80s, and then going towards the end of the week, we'll go into Father's Day weekend. Temperatures probably around 90 with a pop-up storm. Stick around. It's a Friday. We'll talk about that storm that's still out there right now. We got to compare this drought to an old drought, and we'll talk about a couple other things coming up with Tim right after the break. So stick around.
Weather Impact Live with Brad Panovich is sponsored by Moisture Lock, crawl space, basement, and foundation repair experts serving the Carolinas since 1988.
Tired of all this rain? Does your yard look like a swamp after it rains? Hi, I'm Greg Doggett with Moisture Lock, Charlotte's premier waterproofing and foundation repair company. The longer water sits, the softer soil will become. This can cause foundation issues. If you're having drainage issues, contact Moisture Lock. We'll get the water away from your home and out of your yard.
Moisture Lock, stabilize, enhance, protect.
Welcome back, everybody. Tim Buckley joins me from a hot and steamy Greensboro. Boy, Tim, it was a hot one today. But we are seeing some very isolated thunderstorms. It's kind of ironic, exactly what we kind of expected. Not a ton of storms, but the ones that have got going have been pretty potent. In fact, we've got one severe thunderstorm warning in our area, Caldwell County, though I am a little suspicious. An hour-long warning for this cell that pops up this quickly, it's probably not going to last an hour. So 6:30 to 7:30 seemed like a very long polygon to me, so we'll see if it lasts that long. But I know you've seen a couple pop up towards the Virginia line, and as you go north of your area, definitely there's some big storms up in parts of Virginia this afternoon.
Yeah, Brad, good to be with you today. Here's a live view of Roanoke, not in either of our areas, but hey, it's a camera and it's raining on it. And just about 5 minutes ago, it was kind of a blinding downpour up there. So I think it's the type of day that if you don't have your eye on the radar, it can change pretty fast. We're seeing those storms really pop up kind of almost out of nowhere. We're seeing that in Surrey County, up in my area as well, maybe a little bit of hail right near the Blue Ridge Parkway, and you see that with that severe thunderstorm warning near Patterson and Lenore. You're going to have to just kind of be on your toes between now and probably about 9, 10 o'clock, but as is often the case, the storms have kind of a hard time transitioning from mountains to foothills to Piedmont. And, of course, we're going to be going into the evening. On the flip side, it's still 95 degrees out there, so there should be plenty of heat and humidity to ride on. So I hope we get some rain. I don't want any damage, but we could use it. There's no doubt about that.
That's exactly what I was saying. It's like this is the kind of day where you'd love to see a storm, even a strong one, maybe not severe, like you said, but just enough to kind of push out some cool air and give us some much needed rain. Yeah, just that isolated little cell. Let's talk about the heat, Tim, because today was, it was toasty. We got to 97 in Charlotte, missed our record by one, but we had a record warm low temperature this morning, and it's 75, so that was the warmest it ever been for this morning hours. And I posted earlier, we almost did it. We almost had the rare double record, a record warm low temperature and a record high temperature in the same calendar day. That's really difficult to do. And also, hey, kudos to us. We actually forecasted 75 and 97 on the nose, and that's what happened. So, kind of nice. Meteorologists, we take pride in those zero error days. We're happy if it's within 3, but when you do one of those and it's almost a record, you're like, wow, that's pretty good. You're like just waiting for the climate summary to come in and go, yeah, we verified. But yeah, it was a hot one. And I don't know if you saw Raleigh today. I think they broke their record at like 11 a.m. or something ridiculous like that. It was like over 100. Just crazy heat over there the last several weeks. I have to look, Tim. Isn't this like their 8th or 9th 100-degree day of the year or something?
Oh gosh, I haven't been keeping track, but you're right that they've had several already, and they're to the point now where it seems like they get several every year now. And so in weather circles, the Raleigh temperature sensor has been a bit of a punchline. Although I will say, if you look at the observations all across central North Carolina today, there are more than a dozen places that have hit 100 degrees. So it's pretty widespread east of Raleigh, a little bit west of Raleigh as well. But there's a ton of that triple-digit heat showing up there. I was chatting with Kat Campbell over in Raleigh, and we were talking about, she had done a little bit of research, and it's something I haven't done for Greensboro. I'm not sure if you've done it for Charlotte yet, but she's looked at the severe drought summers for Raleigh. So any summer that's had severe drought, every single one had above average temperatures and lower humidity. So I think that's interesting. I wonder if we've maybe overlooked the fact that how dry we are and how little moisture is in the soil and everything else, it could allow for things to get hotter on most afternoons, and also make it a little harder for it to rain. I think we've already seen that too.
I kind of thought about that today, Tim. It's funny you mentioned that, because when I was thinking the same thing you were, because there is a little running joke among meteorologists about the Raleigh gauge running hot. But I thought the same thing. I looked in around the area, like Rocky Mount was over 100, Southern Pines. So it wasn't like they were alone. It wasn't an anomaly. And I thought the same thing. I thought, you know what? It's so dry over there. I do wonder if the dry soil and dry ground, and we saw the Falls Lake pictures yesterday being dried up, that's just going to lead to some really hot surface, because people don't realize this. What actually heats up the air is the ground. The sun heats the ground, and the ground heats the air. And when the ground is really dry, think of like urban heat islands when it's pavement or impervious surface, how hot it gets. That can happen with just regular old soil when it doesn't have any moisture or vegetation in it.
Absolutely can. And it makes sense when you think about it that we'll be a little drier, we'll be a little hotter because of the drought. And those hottest numbers today, they really do kind of correspond with the worst drought areas. So makes sense.
Yeah, it's just wild. I was actually just while we were talking, I was trying to pull up the summary for Raleigh here. I have to switch offices here, but I'm curious how many 90-degree or 100-degree days they had. I stole your idea, Tim. I saw your great post on social about the number of 90, 95, and 100-degree days. Talk a little about that, because I do think it's interesting. I think when you grow up in the Carolinas or you lived here, people have this like weird idea that it's 100 degrees all the time. And 100 degrees is pretty rare here. I think because we think the heat index is above 100 a lot, that the air temperature is above 100 a lot, especially for you and I in Charlotte and Greensboro. 100 degrees is a lot rarer than it is off to the east.
It is hard to do. And not only that, Brad, even especially for our area up here, we get about 35, 90-degree days every year. And that's quite a lot. So 90 isn't very rare at all. But what's interesting is of those 35 or so, we only average 8 days that are 95 or higher. So that's a fraction of the 90-degree heat. So even to get above 95 around here, it's only a handful of times a year. So these days, like today, like yesterday, they're pretty rare in themselves. We haven't hit 100 since 2012. So it's really not something that we do very often. I know you all did it a couple times last year.
Yeah.
But it's rare, and it happens for us fewer than once a year. Once every couple of years is probably a better way to say that.
Yeah, I looked up our average after seeing your post, and our long-term average is about 1. But you're right, last year kind of skewed the numbers because we had 400-degree days last year, which was pretty rare because the year before we had 1, but then we had gone like 6 years without hitting 100 degrees. So one of my favorite stats about Charlotte, and this is statistically proven, I can show it to you, it snows more often in Charlotte than we hit 100 degrees, and that blows people's minds that that's an actual true thing. But that's the truth. Snow is actually way more common by 4 times than a 100-degree day in Charlotte. And I think if you ask most North Carolinians, especially people in Charlotte, they'd probably say no way. They probably would think the opposite of that.
That's wild, and that's probably true for most places in North Carolina, or at least the Piedmont, Charlotte, Greensboro, maybe Raleigh, and maybe not Raleigh anymore. But that's interesting, and it goes to show you that of course it's hot, but when you're feeling heat outside, it doesn't need to be triple digits to feel hot. We live in humidity usually, and 90 and humid is really hot weather, and we get a lot of that.
Yeah, that's why we don't get to 100 that much, because it's usually so humid. It's hard to heat up a warm, a humid atmosphere. A dry atmosphere is much easier to do. So, yeah, I feel like most of the 100-degree days, and we were comparing this earlier, and this brings me to my next topic. Our great intern, Rachel, was working hard on this graphic, and I got to show it to you, because we were comparing the last time we had a drought this bad, and I know you posted this as well, when we had exceptional drought over most of the state, was back in December 2007. So this graphic blows my mind, Tim. You guys are seeing the first exceptional drought that we've had since then. But look at how much of the state was under exceptional drought back in 2007. I remember that summer very well for so many reasons. One, it was hot and humid, but it was also the summer I got married, so I better remember that. My wife would kill me. But I do remember the week we got married, we hit 104, which is our all-time record. Now, we've tied that several times, but we had a lot of 100-degree heat because it was dry, and it was really easy to heat up the atmosphere. But look how extensive that exceptional drought is. And I think when we talked about this drought, Tim, a lot of people were probably going, they don't remember 2007 because that's when we had water restrictions the last time, and it was a big drought. It's been a while. It's almost 20 years ago, and for a lot of folks, they forget that droughts do happen here. We've been kind of spoiled. We have gone a long time without a drought of this caliber.
It's a great point. It's been a long time. We know it's been a long time, but what I found was interesting, too, when we were bringing this up, I kind of went through week by week. When did it kind of start to get bad? When did it start to get better? Yeah. This thing really got started in around June of 2007.
Yep.
It got to its peak, like we were showing you there, in the December timeframe. Yeah. That's just like the biggest extent of the state, where you have 2/3 of the state in the worst category, which is hard to even imagine. But it kept going. Yeah. It kept going all the way through the spring of 2008. So you basically had almost a 2-year drought, and that's only considering the D4 conditions, and let alone the D1 and D2.
Yeah.
So these things can last multiple years, and we don't say that to scare you here, but there's no guarantee this will fix itself quickly. It probably won't. So could it last until next year? Hope not.
Yeah.
But it's going to take a lot of work to fix it.
But I do think you bring up an interesting point, and Kat probably did this research. I agree with her that I would tell you that the heat and drought are definitely tied together, Tim. There's definitely a correlation.
Yeah.
In the summers here, you get these questions. People always ask me, what's the summer outlook? Is it going to be a cool summer? And I always tell people, it's never really a cool summer. It can be a mild summer here. And the only thing that makes it mild, it's not cold fronts, it's not cold air. It's usually rain and clouds, Tim. That's how we end up with a mild summer. If it's a wet summer, because we block out this intense sun. And our hot summers tend to be the ones where we have a ton of dry air. It's super sunny all the time because the sun angle this time of year is ridiculous. It can get super hot. And when we don't have clouds and showers to break that up, that tends to be when we get our hottest weather.
You're exactly right. And so, simple forecast, you would expect next couple of months, maybe would bet against us being cooler. Maybe you would bet against us being wetter, all other things being equal. The normal forecasting metrics probably don't take into account your preconditions, which are we're in a really bad drought. So that's something we'll have to keep reminding ourselves as forecasters.
And what's that famous saying, drought begets drought? Like once you get in one, sometimes it helps build the ridge and make it drier and hotter. There's a cycle in this whole thing, Tim, right? Especially in the summertime.
Yeah, and it's a great excuse to use the word begets. I don't use it much other than that phrase.
Yeah, I know it is. That's not a word you use every day. It's really bizarre.
It's probably an old phrase.
Yeah, somebody out there like, yes, they finally used it. No, it's like, no, it's one of those terms. Oh, we have some great video today, Tim. Not great because it was damaging, but this kind of confirmed what we were watching on radar yesterday. Remember during this show, we were tracking this tornado in parts of Illinois, and this was quite the outbreak, Tim. For June, I mean, you don't normally see outbreaks like this far south in June, to have Illinois, Indiana. And I saw that I think it was Storm Prediction Center actually classified the whole line yesterday as a derecho on top of this. So we had supercells and a derecho. These were monster tornadoes. The radar signatures alone were like blowing my mind. But you see the video, and it's like, yeah, that kind of matches what you saw on radar.
It is amazing. And, we had just talked the day before about how this time of year, usually you're seeing stuff migrate north into Canada for severe weather. Well, there's your exception. It kind of moved down through Chicagoland and into Indiana as well. But these are very clear visual tornadoes, very destructive ones, too.
Yeah.
And, when you show a map like this, sometimes I just like to show you how chaotic it is. All of these reports, these are populated areas, a lot of people spotting these things, and all of those blue icons, Brad, there were high wind reports everywhere, not just the tornadoes, but like you said, with a derecho, you're bringing that high wind over huge areas for hundreds of miles.
Yeah, some of the wind speeds, I think they clocked the highest was at 94, and this is after the day before. Remember, we had some 100-mile-an-hour wind gust in parts of Iowa. I'm going to bring up this post real quickly. If you can bring my laptop up there, Robert. So this was the post I saw this morning. They basically said they classified this as a derecho. They said the damaging wind swath from Wednesday, this is the Wednesday event, by the way, so this wasn't yesterday, this was Wednesday's event, had been confirmed as a derecho. 400 miles with a footprint of 100,000 square miles. The strongest known gust was measured at 94 miles per hour. So that was the system that was the day before, Tim, that we were talking about as well. And it's been a crazy month, like we said, for the Midwest. But as you correctly pointed out yesterday, the same stagnant pattern that's given us the drought has given them a different kind of stagnant pattern, storm after storm after storm.
It really has. And, I think it's a year where I don't know we can plot the density of tornado reports or something like that, but I do think based on people's perceptions of Tornado Alley, it would be offset a bit. Like this year, it's offset more so up in the Midwest. A lot of years it's offset into they call it Dixie Alley or, the Deep South, Mississippi, Alabama. Not so much the case this year, but it's more of a Midwest. As far as severe risk into the weekend, Brad, I wonder what you're thinking. We talked about how this today risk might be a little overdone for our area just because of how many we're able to pop. don't really see it for tomorrow, but I wonder if on Sunday, I wouldn't be shocked if they drag that risk a little farther south into the Carolinas. We have that front kind of coming in here. Wouldn't take too much to bring some damaging wind gusts out of that thing on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, I totally agree. I said that in my local forecast. I said the one day I think if we have the highest chance of seeing rain, it was going to be Sunday evening because that front comes in, and some of our parameters are looking pretty pronounced there as well to give us that. So you asked about this, and I pulled it up. I actually had this bookmarked, Tim. So this is the 60-day tornado warning anomaly. So this kind of shows you the blues are below average for this last 60 days, and the orange shades are obviously above. And look where the orange shade is. It is offset from Tornado Alley. It's in the Midwest, Iowa, Wisconsin, Illinois, Michigan, and Indiana, basically the heart of the Midwest. So your thoughts were exactly right. And this is the NSSL page has this. It's PPH, which is basically a probability of where you'd see tornado warnings. And I can show the polygons real quickly. It shows you where all the tornado warning polygons have been this year. 1,050 tornado warnings, and look where they're centered. Pretty much Missouri, Iowa. Boy, Iowa and Illinois, that seems to be the place to chase this spring. Look at Oklahoma and
Just
western.
covered.
And those areas that we normally would chase, like the Front Range, western Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, very few tornado warnings. They are offset to the east, Tim.
And in the last 60 days anyway, 0 in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Yet again, we talked about April not having any. May had none. June so far too. Just to put that out there. So kind of amazing.
You said I'm going to put severe thunderstorm warnings up just so you could see. They're in blue. Look how few there are in North Carolina on this map as well. So these are severe thunderstorm warnings. Robert, show that real quick. So look at. Can you tell we're in a drought in the southeast? So
that's the drought.
that is, Tim, that is wild for us. That's all of March, April, May. I mean, that's basically from the beginning of April through now, we've had no warnings. It's crazy. And lo and behold, we have one right now.
You get no rain, you get no storms.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's true. And it's already moving out of the polygon.
Yeah, as expected. Yeah, that's one thing I will say about these storms, Tim. These pulse-type storms in this kind of environment, they go severe quickly, but almost as quickly as they go severe, they tend to dissipate. And a new one will form on that outflow at some point this evening. So, as Tim mentioned, we'll watch these storms in the mountains and foothills. That's the one area. Mount Airy's getting some good rain, it looks like there. So that'll be the area we'll watch this evening. Otherwise, everybody, stay cool this weekend. It's not as hot as the last 2 days, but it's still going to be pretty steamy. Look for some relief coming up next week, especially after that front on Sunday. Have a great weekend. Yeah, have a great weekend, Tim. And, go USA tonight. That's going to be crazy watching that game. A lot of watch parties outside tonight, so stay cool.
There they are.